They were just. Oh, are we live?
You listed me as ASC, it's ACS.
ACS.
Where does it say ASC?
On that title.
I told him what it was. Come on.
ACS.
It says ACS.
Okay, sorry. I thought I saw ACS.
Up there it says ACS, but down here it said ASC. So.
It's the same one. You dyslexic on me?
All right.
Very good.
We are here with Mr. Vance ACS Burberry.
Burberry, that's right.
I love it. Burberry.
A distant relation of the clothing company, but not financially so, unfortunately.
Okay. Vance, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you
to be
too.
here at the Condor Blue booth. I'm sure you know Lucas.
I know Lucas is awesome, and
he's an amazing.
I met him many years ago at Cinegear in LA. So yeah. Now he's making beautiful things. So.
He is, isn't he?
Isn't he though?
And I don't know if you've noticed, but there's Condor Blue cages on cameras all over the show floor.
I know. It's just over at Sony, and there they are.
It's amazing.
Just cables. You know, the great thing is the color. You
I
can
love
see
the color.
them from 50 feet away. It's great.
It's good for branding, right?
Yeah, but quite honestly, I think, I have some of the other gear myself, and I got to say it's really smartly designed and well thought out. And obviously, Lucas is the DP, so and it shows in the gear, so that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. So how many years have you been coming to NAB? This is the 100th celebration.
I'm not that old.
I know. I knew you were going to say that. I wasn't trying to set you up for that. But,
yeah.
But how long have you been coming to
I've been pretty much probably the last 10 years.
Okay.
I've been coming. I think
Cinegear might be more your lane.
Cinegear probably much more so. Been going way back with that. I think really because once we transitioned from film into digital, that's more when this became more interesting to me. I held off on digital until the Alexa came out. I refused to shoot anything on digital before the Alexa.
Well, I think before the Alexa, there was good reason, right?
Yeah, it was. And, then you go, okay, this isn't too bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me ask you about that. When you did eventually touch and use the Alexa, what were some of your thoughts coming from a film background?
I sold, this guy's shot a lot of film. We still love film. I mean, I still love shooting film today. But the new technology opens up a whole new amount of creative opportunities, right? So, smaller cameras,
easier workflows.
Certainly I shoot quite a bit of underwater work, so not having to pull a camera out and reload every 4 minutes is pretty awesome.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So you basically are doing what many people aspire to do as a cinematographer. You've worked on really high budget productions and different things, I would imagine ranging from all different types of budgets.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, big budget work for sure. But some of my favorite work has been stuff where I've had very little budget and have had to be creative and find creative solutions. And, I think that's really the skill set, right? When you have, 2 48-footers worth of gear and technocranes and helicopters and all the toys, it's a hell of a lot of fun, and I love all that. But when you've got to make something out of nothing, I think that's kind of can be more of a challenge sometimes.
Absolutely. I mean, the famous story of Jaws with Steven Spielberg, the shark wasn't working properly, so they got creative, and it turned out to be a better storytelling tool. Yeah,
it's a pretty iconic film. I actually made a shot of this little short 10-minute documentary on the restoration of Jaws for Universal. And just seeing some of the archival stuff that I had access to, it was very, very cool.
That's amazing. What are some of the things that you maybe miss about shooting on film? I mean, you said you still shoot on it, and I'm sure you have opportunities to do so.
I mean, obviously, just the capturing on film, the process of capturing on film. What I find interesting is, we now have all this new technology. Smaller, lighter cameras, and now we're bolting in. We got to run sound to it. We got to run this to it. We got to run that to it. Now I've got cables hanging off everywhere. At least with the old film camera, I had a power cable and a video assist cable, and that was your lot.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah. because now they want to jam the time code and have the
Jam.
wireless signal coming out. And
Yeah,
we're gonna
rocket boxes.
we're
and-
uploading it to the cloud. The editor's editing it right now.
Yeah. Editors don't want to sync, even though you've got auto sync now with
Yeah,
like
exactly.
DaVinci or Adobe Premiere.
Totally.
So I don't know. But for me, it's the new technology it's just all these amazing new creative tools, and I think you never want to be the old guy. You know, you want to be the guy that's paying attention to what's new and what's great, and that's exciting. You know, and I still feel there's that balance to be had between the craft that we learned shooting film and applying that to the new technology, and I think that's really what's exciting.
I think James Cameron has been doing some really cutting edge things
Yep.
with Avatar 2.
Yep.
But his cinematographer, I've heard say as well, like they're still applying those really tried and true cinematography techniques and applying it to the technology. That's why they're doing the underwater stuff in real life. Do you have comments on that? On what?
Yeah, I
what you're
do.
saying?
I think it's Cameron's been an innovator for a long time. He's broken a lot of new ground, and I think that's really cool. It's interesting with the they use some they use regular cinema cameras to capture textures and stuff underwater, and they were using old Nikon or Nikon's still lenses on those 3D cameras because they had less optical aberration. So you're taking 30-year-old technology and adapting it to cutting-edge technology and using it to solve problems.
So it's a real marriage of the two coming together.
And I think that's really important.
Well, talk about that in your own work. What are some lenses that you pair with these modern sensors that you find that you love that pairing? Is there any in particular?
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting, I think, is that when we were shooting film, we we're like, sharper, please. Better contrast, sharper lenses. Now it's too sharp. Yeah. So I kind of like to go with, Cook did a re-release of the old Cook Pancros, which I really like. That all the sets match, and the 18 doesn't vignette, and so I really like those. The old Canon K35s are tried and true, and even just the old Mark II, Mark III Zeiss Super Speeds. And then there's lots of nice new glass as well. It's sort of, I haven't bought lenses because I believe that depending on the project and the look you're going for, now you need to be able to use different lenses depending on the project.
Well, I think that takes us to lighting. There's been some incredible advancements and innovation in LED technology.
Yep.
What are your thoughts as a cinematographer that's gone and seen that revolution? What are you using, and what are your thoughts on LED?
It's obviously evolved a lot as opposed to when it first came out. Obviously, there's something beautiful when you dim down an old tungsten light and the color temperature and the way that color temperature looks. It's pretty hard. It was pretty hard to recreate, but I think now stuff is at the place now where you can recreate that and not having to gel a bunch of lights. I can just go and talk to the board operator. Can we turn that light into a Lee 144, please? And it's instant. So that's really great. There is a lot of soft light, obviously. But, I grew up when we used a lot of hard light as well. So seeing a lot of new hard lights coming, which is really nice because it shouldn't be all soft light.
Yeah. What are some of the lights that you're currently using that you're gravitating to right now?
Well, I've been using the cream source lights a lot, obviously, and of course light gear. Light gear stuff I really like. Their Spectrum LEDs, the Auroras. I mean, Al DeMaio and I go back 35 years. He actually was my driver at Lee America back in maybe 1986, 87. You'll actually see him sitting in the lighting desk of Sweet Child of Mine. In the little opening, you'll see Al, who owns Light Gear, of course.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we go back. So I'm a fan of what he's done. But, again, he comes out of that old school lighting world. So and with Mike Bauman, they've kind of brought that sort of old school lighting mentality into the new technology, which is really great.
So, can you speak to any of the projects that you've done over the last year, or anything that you're working on currently that you're excited about? Anything in particular that stands out?
You know, I've been doing some stuff with the LA Philharmonic, which has been really interesting, just multicam stuff. I'm thinking underwater work, some underwater work that has been really great. Did a spot for Intel, which underwater with synchronized swimmers, using some underwater lighting from Hydroflex. I also did an Olympic spot where we had Hydroflex has built ARRI S30s underwater. Used those lights. So yeah, I've applied a lot of that stuff to.
Have you played around with the Alexa 35 yet? Have you shot any projects with it?
I actually just shot a project last week.
What are your thoughts?
It's incredible.
You like it?
It's crazy. The highlight roll-off is insane. I'm actually going to Spain in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to shoot a project over there with that fairly big project. So I'm excited about that. I mean, the camera's pretty amazing.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
What about the Venice 2? Have you done any projects with the Venice?
I did one project with the Venice 2 last year with something with Liddell, and it was pretty amazing camera. I like the camera a lot. I'm still a kind of a diehard ARRI guy, you know, that and Blackmagic cameras, but yeah, I still do like the Sony cameras. They're pretty great.
Yeah, the Sony's just getting a lot of coverage these days. It seems like flying off rental shelves.
It is. I mean, I think, you know, ARRI fell behind with their sensors, and you know, the Venice came along, but then along came the Alexa 35.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, you just got ahead again.
Totally. So, like you said, Cine Gear may be more your place to go. Why do you come to NAB? I'm just curious. What's it all about for you?
Well, visit people. Certainly, I have friends over at Blackmagic Design, and they live in Australia, so I get to see those guys. But you're always looking for what's new, and here it's maybe a little different to Cine Gear, and there's some different products, and again, you've got technology's growing so rapidly. If you don't stay on top of it, you're going to get left behind. So
Absolutely.
It does allow me to see what's the latest and greatest, and you know, how can I use that technology creatively for projects that I work on.
Well, with that in mind, obviously virtual production is kind of the name of the game these days.
Yeah.
Have you done anything on a volume, or
Not
do you have any
yet.
thoughts on it?
I've shot some tests on a volume. I haven't shot on the volume yet. I think it's evolving very quickly. I think being able to the fact that you're now being able to integrate separate lighting systems rather than using the volume to create light, I think that's really advanced it very quickly. I'm very excited to play with it for sure.
Yeah, I think the possibilities, like as a creative, when you start to think about the possibilities, it kind of makes your head explode.
It does,
because it's really kind of a dream come true.
You know, after shooting, you know, hundreds of green screen jobs and trying to imagine the world that I'm in, and to actually being able to go in and work in in that world that you can actually see, it just grounds everything. I think for the actors, for the cinematographer, the whole creative process. It's
especially as a cinematographer, you can just tell the engineer who's on the computer, hey, could we make it golden hour all day?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and actually, you know what? Can we just move the sun over here real quick?
Yeah, I know. Nice, right?
You basically get to kind of play God with.
Yeah,
with
exactly. It's all those kinds of things. It's you know, its possibilities are endless, and it's messes with your head for sure.
So we've got a lot of up and coming cinematographers nowadays because the equipment has become so accessible. I think the ability to buy a camera that actually can create a cinematic result the barrier for entry has never been lower.
It's a very low barrier, yeah.
So with that being said, we have so many people that look up to people like you who have done work that looks amazing, that you've worked with amazing crews and with amazing producers and people over the years. So, you know, what kind of words of encouragement or advice would you give to somebody starting out right now?
Go make stuff. Learn the craft. You know, there's sort of don't jump in and don't ignore the craft. The craft, the fundamentals really haven't changed for 100 years. Yes, the technology's changed, the process has changed somewhat, but those fundamental approaches haven't changed. I mean, I have a podcast called Two Stops Over, and I was chatting with Mandy Walker on my last episode. She shot Elvis, and we talked a bit about the fact that, yeah, we still use we still bring out light meters, right? We still light to eye and check with the meters at the end. Even though it doesn't roll over, it still gives us that sort of set point. And we still kind of approach things to the way we shot film, but obviously applying new technology and so forth. But I still think there's a fundamentals of filmmaking that still need to apply.
Absolutely. So where can people listen to that podcast? Just wherever.
It's called Two Stops Over. It's on Apple Podcasts or wherever else you get your podcasts.
I love the name. That's hilarious. That's amazing.
TWO Stops Over.
Okay, so we'll check it out.
It's myself and a director by name of Nigel Dick, who gave me my start 36 years ago.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Lucas, do you have any additional questions that you'd like me to ask Vance? Or it was great.
Good.
Vance, thank you so much for coming to the
thank you
Condor
for having
Blue
me.
booth. And it was a pleasure meeting you, and thank you for the conversation.
Thank you. It's always nice to chat. And just lastly, what you guys have been doing here at Condo Blue, I'm super impressed, so just keep it going.
Awesome. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.